I have a question for you. What will you do with 20 million plus in your retirement? And why is it important, this figure, 20 million plus, especially to you? For me, this figure has been very instrumental when I speak to people about their financial intelligence, their financial investment, about the power of compounding. And the reason I always talk about 20 million plus is, let's assume you have your 20 million in that account, earning a dividend percent of 12%. That actually means you'll be having 2.4 million per year on dividends. If you were to divide this into monthly earnings, that means you'll have a lifestyle of 120,000 plus. If this is something which excites you, then I invite you to join me in this video and see what are the particular options available for you in your growth. At what stage of life are you? At what stage of employment are you? At what stage of entrepreneurship are you? And are we going to meet this? If you believe it is, then kindly stick on up to the end. I'll give you the various options and all that. But first, let me appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, for sparing time to have a watch of this video. And I appreciate the growth we have been having together. And for the new members, for those of us who have not been able to subscribe, I want to invite you to join us in this tribe. Let's grow the channel together and transform more and more people into better selves. So join us and let's see what you can do with a 20 million shillings in our account during our retirement. So here I present six scenarios. Remember, this is just an example, and this is just one way you can invest your money. Some of us have different sources of income, and it can multiply. The most important principle is compounding. How are you working with time? Because time is king in whatever we are explaining today. So I want to show you some principles. One, the power of getting the right investment with the right interest rates. I want you to be keen on those details. Even a 1% interest rate variation, as you are going to see, makes a lot of difference. Importantly, again, is at what time are you starting? You realize for those of us who have the audacity to start the investment earlier enough, they have 35 years, they have 30 years. This is important for those of us who are actually starting their careers. You realize you will be able to save a small amount over time. Unlike somebody, for example, who has to save 85,000 for the next 10 years. This is somebody who has to retire in the next 10 years. Unlike somebody who has to save 10,000 for the next 26 years. This means you are reducing the disposable income. But if you start very early, you have the advantage of compounding over time. Something else which is important is you need to change your paradigm shift. Do you believe in a linear curve or an exponential curve? What do I mean by this? When I explain this to my trainees, or to my mentees, they normally tell me how possible is it, yet they have an account and they are saving and it is not actually happening. And most of the reason why they are not achieving this is because one, they save in the wrong account. Ensure you are saving in an investment account and not just a current account where you are paid your money in case you are earning, or in that fixed savings account, or just a savings account which is not accruing any interest. That is the difference in this place. Secondly, most of us are not patient because we want to earn the interest this year. For example, let's say the circle is paying out dividends for your money. The next thing you do is you want to withdraw all those dividends and you want to use it immediately. Then you are not going to earn the advantage we are talking about today. This is a long term view of your investment, which needs you to totally do away with removing or withdrawing the money until that term expires. That is when you can actually start earning and withdrawing from your retirement. The reason I told you I am talking about 20 million is I'm looking at you earning a dividends of 2.4 million per year, and you now starting to use that 2.4 million at 120,000 per year. That one is a good amount for you to stay well with your family. So for those of us who have actually picked the calculators, I want to take you through my table there. And you'll see at the first column we have the year, the second column, we have what is the start at that year, and then this is just like what is in the end of the last column, that is start of next year. The monthly savings 2,500, the months. What is the end of year flat savings? That is a product of the number of months plus the monthly savings you are doing. And you'll see, for example, you'll be doing 30,000. What is our end of year end plus previous, and then the interest we are earning for that time. So I want us to do the first examples so that we can proceed. The reason I put zero there is because most of us, we say this is where you have the ambition, you have the vision, you have I'll start, I'll do this, but you have not made any effort. If you don't move from this, you will remain at zero all through your time. So let's go. We have zero at the start of year one, but you have done our 2,500. So take 2,500 multiply by 12. That gives you 30,000 at the end of that year. Year end plus previous, we didn't have any investment the previous year, so we have 30,000. But at the end of that year, we have 4,800. How did I get 4,800? You do 12% of 30,000. And then what will you be having start of the next year? So you take the 4,800 plus 30,000. That gives you 34,800. And that is what you take to year two, column number two. What do? You add another 2,500 per month for the next 12 months. That means you have 30,000 plus 34,800 you took from the last year. This gives you 64,800. What is the interest for that year, year two? It will be 10,368. So, start of the next year, you will be having 64,800 plus 10,368. What are we getting in that? We are getting 75,168. And this goes on. And I want you to see the magic of what actually happens. You can actually see how the progress goes on year after year. And just imagine after 10 years of consistently doing this, you will be having an interest of 102, 343,000. Out of the 2,500 you have just been saving on a monthly basis. It's just like a dream I actually see. But this is a reality of compounding over time. Let's see what happens at the end of the investment period. Finally, at our 31 years, we have 21,442,423 as our final value, which will be transferred for your 32 year 32. What have you learned from this? Look, if you are to save 2,500 per month without compounding, you are going to have earned only 930,000. But the reason you have transformed your investment to 21,442, 423 at the end of year 31 is because you have compounded over time. This is the power of compounding, and I always say it is the eighth wonder of the world. So try this today. This is especially good for the youth. If you are starting out your career, if you are starting out your business, 2,500 is something you can set out and think long term. So somebody normally asks, so this money, what should I do with it and all that? If it is a must for you to actually have some money from this account. Then you can consider borrowing against this money. But ensure you pay back the loan so that you remain intact with your money at the end of the period. This is something you can leave to your kids. This is something you can inherit to a trust so that it can help your people to enjoy life. And most importantly, for yourself, you will retire in peace. That is it. So let's look at the other situations. I mentioned about being keen on interest rates. Look at this. This is somebody saving 3,500 per month, which is actually higher than our first example of 2,500 per month. But for you to have 20 million, you will have to go 35 years. In the previous example, we went only for 31 years. Why? This guy is earning 12% per annum, whereas the other one was doing 2,500 per month, was earning 16% per annum. That is why it is very important for you to look at where are you getting the best interest rates for your finance. So the same principle applies for this. The only difference is you are now saving 42,000 per year, and you do the maths, you follow up, and let's see what happens at year 10 in this case. As you can see from year 10, we have interest rate of 88,445 compared to what we had in the earlier example of 100 and something thousand. So that is the importance of you being keen on the investment you are having. But all in all, this is a good one for those of us who are conservative. Remember, you are talking about risk. The more the interest, the more the chances of getting maybe a loss or something like that. Remember, we've just used flat rates, but this might not be the actual truth on the ground. But you have a baseline of 12% for most of the circles, going up to 15, 16, and the outliers are doing even 18%. So that is the most important thing. Ensure your money is safe as well. Choose circles. If you are doing a circle investment, choose circles which are actually registered by SASRA. Choose institutions which are actually credible because this is money you are working on. Despite the amount, it's small when you're starting, but it's actually very important for you to be keen and detailed. All in all, at the end of year 35, we have our 20,305,450. This is a savings account. This is an investment account for someone who is conservative, who chooses to go with this least rate. It can be 10%, 12%, but you are sure that this is money which you will get at the end of the investment period. That is 35 years. So if you are starting out your career, choose to do something today. That 500 is something you can spare. And for some of us who say this is a very long time to go, I want you today to ask yourself if you say 10 years' time is a very long time to go, I want you to think back 10 years. I want you to look back 10 years from today and you realize it's actually not a very long time as you think. And the reality is this, even if you choose today to make a commitment for the next 10 years, or you don't choose to do that commitment, 10 years will happen, the 30 years will happen, and eventually it's better for you to actually make that choice today and commit. So let's move on what will happen if you don't have time. I included this table to specifically tell you the power of time and how time is important if you want to gain the value of compounding. Look, this is a professional or this is an investor who doesn't have enough time in his disposal and he still wants to get the 20 million. Let's see the difference. In our case, when we are doing 35 years, 30 years, we are doing 2,500 shillings on the minimum and 3,500 shillings. But look, you only have 10 years to go and you want to get 20 million. Ignore the savings on the upper side that it's 500. It's actually 85,000 per month. If you want to beat the 20,000 the 20 million target, you have to have 85,000 per month. How many of us can actually get 85,000 per month? It means it will be a tall order on you. It's possible if you have worked on other avenues to increase your savings, to increase your earning potential, maybe you can crash. But the reality is, it will be more stressful than starting early. And that is how people miss it. So the earlier you do, the better. Let's see, at year 10, despite saving 85,000, this guy is getting 214, 2,147,967. That's interest. But I can actually attest that very few of us can be able to get 85,000 and just fix it somewhere with the realities we have on our ground. Not unless you have actually worked hard in your potential as a person and all that. So, dear you, dear the investor, if you have the chance, I'll tell you it's better to start early. But this is also speaking to those of us who are late in starting, that it is actually possible for you to actually do this. The good thing is, at this time, most probably you don't have a lot of demands on your hand. You have maybe educated your kids, you have done most of the expenses, you have built your house and all that. So you just want to save for your retirement. So you can make that decision today and keep off that 85,000 in a serious investment. That is it. This table is here because I want us to see what is the impact of interest rates with the same value of money. So initially we had done 3,500 for 35 years with an interest rate of 12%. Now let's look what will happen for 35 years, the same period of time, doing that 500 per month with that 15% interest. And this one will surprise you. With only a difference of 5 years, with only a difference of 3% interest, I mean, you will see the wonders. Let's see. But before we get there, what do you think will be the results? I want you to comment on the comment section. And in case you have not subscribed up to this moment, I'll kindly remind you to do so. Like, share a comment, tell us how this is inspiring you. How do you find this? Is it challenging? Is it teaching you to do something? Are you committing to do something? I want to see your financial commitment today. So let's see year 10 and then see the product or the end results. As expected, if you look at year 10, the other time you add 88,000 as your interest. And you can actually see at year 10 with 15%, you are doing 127,000 as your interest. That's a variation of about 50,000, 51,000. Is it 51? No, 41,000. That's a lot of money. That is why I was insisting on you looking out on the interest rates. I once read a book on financial investment, and they say, be keen on the details. And I like the example they said, denying yourself that coffee maybe that will not make you rich, but being keen on the interest rates, being keen on the days of paying your debt, being keen on those small details which actually matter is the difference. Let's say, boom, what you've been waiting for. Look at the tremendous difference. At the end of year 35, you'll be getting 42 million, which is very different just because of the difference of interest by 3%. By year 30, with an interest of a difference of 3%, that is with 15% interest, you'll have gained your 20 million. What does this one tells you? It tells you that you can actually buy the 5 years of your time by investing in a place which gives you more returns. And remember, I just gave you one way you can actually preserve your capital. This is investments which are meant to normally preserve your capital so that at the end of the period, you actually have this money available for you. It's different from the investments where you can actually buy something, let's say cows, you can do clothes, you can do a business, you can do a unit. Yes, it might gain, but you'll not have the cash disposal. So these investments I've been giving you is important for you to actually have a cash disposal at hand, something you can go to and get your money out in your retirement time or when you don't want to work again. So let's say this is for someone who says, it's okay, I have 30 years to invest. I don't want an investment or maybe a vehicle of investment which might look risky. I just want to choose a preservative way of doing it at 12%. What options do I have? So in this case, I created for you how you can increase the contributions per month. So you'll have to raise them from the 3,500 for 35 years up to 6,500 for 30 years. And that is how it is. So at the end of first year, as always, let me remind you, for those of us maybe who missed how we are doing the calculation, you just take the monthly savings, you multiply by 12, you'll have the end of year savings, that is 78,000. You take the interest. So in this case, our interest will be 0.12, that is 12%, multiplied by the 78,000, and that gives us 87,360 for the next year. How do you get that? You take 78,000 plus 9360. That gives you 87,360. This is what you are going to roll it to year two. Then from year two, you add your yearly savings, that is 78,000. You'll have 165,360. And this will give you an interest at the end of the year, that is 0.12 times 165,360. That gives you 19,843. So what will you start year three with? You will start with 165,360 plus 19843, that is 19,843. That gives you 185,203. That is how we do this basically. But I want us to quickly look at year 10 and our final figure. Year 10 is not disappointing. It's giving us 164,256 as our earning interest. Why is it important to actually look at year 10? So when I go out speaking to guys, when I go out inspiring people, and I go out telling people the importance of these things, you find people are motivated and they want to do them. But I normally tell them that as you start any exponential curve in life, even muscle building, training, exercising, or doing that, the first years you will not see meaningful results. But from there, you will see tremendous results going forward. That is why the curve will now start going to infinity. If you were to leave it, the same principle by Warren Buffett. Most of us say Warren Buffett is a billionaire, is the wealthiest person or something. But what we don't want to need to know is that most of his wealth was created by doing things consistently over time. And that is where we fail. But I was just pointing out the year 10 so that this is where we start to see the meaningful results of what we have been doing. From observing that the figures actually play around the same place, we'll have 21,082,823 in your disposal. So what have we done in this case? We have played with the amount of contributions. And when I spoke to people, I find that most of my trainees are actually people working and they are around 30 years to 40 years. And this guy doesn't have a lot of time. Let's say they want to retire at 65, some of us want to retire at 55, and they don't have a lot of time into their disposal. But on average, I saw that these are people who can do something for 26 years, who can do something for 25 years, and that is why I brought them a solution. This is a table created for them. I want to see you getting there. But before I show you, what amount do you think we are talking about for 26 years? I would love to know what amount did you choose for your 26 years. This is average. This means if somebody is at 30 years, will be retiring at 56 years. But most of us are at 34, 35 due to the reality in the Kenyan market is that most of us actually start stabilizing at that moment at our 32, 34, 35. That's when somebody takes serious his retirement, and you'll be having ability to retire at 60 comfortably if you're 34. And let's see. So the figure is actually 10,000. For somebody at this age in the Kenyan dynamics, by that time, I think you'll have grown enough in the job industry, in your careers, you have earned something quite substantial. You can be able to actually set out 10,000 for the next 26,000, 26 months, 26 years, sorry. And the reality is, whether you choose to do it or not, the 26 years will actually fly. And I don't want you to look back and regret over the lost years. Why do you want to think that God will recover the years which were eaten out by the locust? You have the position to do that. You have the chance to actually set the base for your foundation. I always tell my people that yes, you are born in a family of poverty. Yes, your parents may not have had the capacity to give you something to start from. They didn't give you an inheritance in terms of cash. And I'll not blame them in this case. I'll not blame you as well in this case. But I'll blame you squarely if you are going to leave your kids to start where you started. I want you to give them the pedestal. Let them start at an upper level of the stairs. That will make the difference. But most importantly for the kids, because I mentioned the kids, ensure you bring up their capacity to actually respect the value of wealth and money. Because it is said that weak men raised strong men, and strong men end up raising weak men. So ensure you have a sustainable wealth in families. There are very many dynamics which I don't want to focus on in this video today about wealth and family issues, but that is something we are going to talk about in one of the videos in this particular playlist, that is finance and entrepreneurship. So looking at 10,000, that means 120,000 at the end of the year. That gives us 14,400. Importantly, this is a preservative investment. I've just done 12%. I didn't even go to the extremes of 16%, 15%. That tells you that if you are to get an investment which does 16 or 15% per annum, then that will be the best thing to do. And remember, this is actually achievable. These are values which some circles are actually achieving today. I don't want to name any particular circle because of special interest, but The reality is, if you are to Google today, last year results of circles which actually got 15, 16%, you will see they are there. Ensure you gain from capital value. So let's see year 10 and the end results for such a scheme. And we have 20 million 204,880,000 at our disposal at that particular time. I want to tell you something. The reality is, I had promised myself when I was doing this video that I am going to use exactly 35 minutes. Why? Because I was doing investments up to 35 years. So I want you to know that every minute you have spent, you should convert it to a 1 year investment. So if you have been able to stay with me up to this point, it means you are willing to invest your 31 years doing something. But I want you to stay with me up to the end, and we are going to do the 35 years with you. So year 10 gives us 252, 701. And look at what happens at year 20 and beyond. You're actually earning 1 million, one mic per year as interest. For example, at year 20, you are doing 1,37,555. 21, you are doing 1,176,461. At 26, you'll be earning 2,164,108 as interest. How beautiful is it that you have your 2 million out as interest? And that is why I was telling you, at this year, I was looking at you retiring, having 2.4 million out every year as your dividends. That is my best dream I can sell to you today. That kindly speak to yourself, kindly have a small meeting with yourself, kindly talk to your finances. 10,000 is something achievable, and it is actually achievable. Talk to yourself, sit down, and do the investment. Don't wait to have the perfect moment. Start today. Start today, make something work, and you'll not regret 26 years down the line. If you want to leave out this investment to your kids, to your family, to your all, you can do it directly, or you can do it using a unit trust who will manage the funds. And for us, I normally tell them it's kindly for sustainability, you can instruct these people that you don't want the capital to be withdrawn, but your dependents, your beneficiaries can actually withdraw the interest per year, and that is sustainable for them. It will give them something to start with. So the challenge is there to you. Do you think this is something you're willing? If you want to commit to this, let me see your comment down there and tell me specifically where you want to start from. For any inquiries, you can talk to us at 0703 Ensure you have supported this channel by doing that subscription, by leaving a comment, by sharing with your friends. And most importantly, I am an author, I'm a trainer, so you can always call me. We have a discussion, or you can buy books and read and empower yourself. Let's see one another in our next videos. Stay well, stay motivated, talk about wealth. Asante sana, take care of yourself.